What's up, guys and gals? It's time for the latest piece of One Piece, chapter 1154, entitled I Can't Even Die. This is, everyone's losing their absolute collective shit over this chapter. And, alright, I see why. I'm excited too. I'm just not overly surprised, shall I say? Now, the chapter itself is a solid chapter, and the big reveal at the end that has been theorized for so long, I think Oda was just, in all honesty, sort of sick and tired. He was like, no, if I'm gonna do this, I'm not even gonna leave it up for debate. I'm just gonna put it there like it's a goddamn epithet, like it's the World's Strongest Swordsman title. There you go. Theory's confirmed. Can we move on with the rest of the story? I feel like Oda almost had one of those moments where he had a little bit of sake, and he was just like, every time I turn around, people are like, is it Zebek? And I was like, yeah, you know what, yes it is, and he just decided to write that in at the last minute, at the 11th hour, right before the chapter came out. He just drew in, like, quotations, Blackbeard's daddy, and just to be like, I'm so sick and tired of that, or something. It just feels almost like an afterthought, just the way it's done. But anyways, that being said, that the chapter itself is not too bad. I'm not sure what grave they're visiting here in the cover serial, though. Yamato and the rest of them, they're visiting a grave of somebody born in the West Blue but brought up in Ringo. I have no idea who that is. Am I having a total blonde moment, as they say? I'm definitely getting more gray and silver hairs, but I don't think I'm blonde enough yet to have this type of moment. So who is this supposed to be? Whose grave are they visiting? Am I missing something? Is Kawamatsu or somebody? Was he? Well, no, Kawamatsu's not dead, so what the hell? Was Ashura Doji born in the West Blue and ended up like I have no idea. Anyways, so we continue the flashback, right? They basically, from a different perspective, talk about what happened with Charlotte Linlin, with Big Mom, and stuff like that. They go through 63 years ago. This is what happened. One of the two eldest giants died during her hunger pangs and stuff like that, and it was devastating, and there was a lot of famine. There was a lot of... Elbaf was not in a good place, 6 decades ago. They were not in a good... where it was like, okay, we're going to stop rampaging and ransacking every island and every village and stuff like that. We're going to try to be more docile. Now, Harold was out there trying to spread the love and the word of friendly giants, as it were. And unfortunately, as we know, when Loki was born and stuff, the mother is an absolute... she's an absolute... I think she's the worst mother in One Piece. Yeah, I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say she's one of the worst mothers in shonen anime, because a lot of mothers, like Jack's mother, even in Record of Ragnarok, at the very least, means to an end, like Mother Caramel, means to an end, but still treated the children with love and affection. It was false, but at least it was there. Loki got none of this, so he's smiling, he's happy, he's trying to get there, and this bedridden, evil fucking person is just like, absolutely, do not let this demon child come near me again. Gouge out my baby's eyes. Like, this is... wow. Just dark. Let's go, this is really dark shit. And we see that Loki, who is still, as a baby, massive, right? Got that ancient giant blood and stuff like that. But was all smiles and happy, even after being initially thrown off into the underworld, climbed all the way back up to see his mother, and it was just like, nope, absolutely not. And now started wailing and crying, just looking for a mother's affection, some mother's love and stuff like that. And it just did not come. It just did not happen, right? This is where we see, as I said, the famine and stuff like that. We find out that during these desperate times, giants are a warrior race, so they are willing to attack each other, but this was going a little too far. Their winters were long and stuff like that. And Hyrudin was now, who was also living in poverty, Hyrudin was now blamed for being the cursed child, a cursed brother of cursed Prince Loki. So you will take responsibility for this, and if we kill off your bloodline, that maybe if we offer you as a sacrifice, the gods of Elbaf will see us through this plight and stuff. And it's just absolutely ridiculous. Harald eventually comes back in the nick of time, you should say, and it's like, dude, when your country's in this state, I know that once again we're in this time paradox or whatever like that, the accelerated time. Basically, Elbaf is like a hyperbolic time chamber or some shit. I understand that is, of course, a very likely, even though we don't get confirmation yet of what's going on here, but still, Harald, you need to know what's going to happen, like the implications of you leaving around the world. So, once again, is Harald a good king? And is he a good father? It's very difficult to be one without the other, I would argue. In the sense of like Monkey D. Dragon. Is he a good father? Absolutely not. But is sacrificing being a good father for his goal of ending slavery, pretty much, in the One Piece world, the world government, the tyranny, all these things, is that a noble cause? Absolutely. So is Dragon a bad person? Okay, now we've got that moral debate, right? Now we're putting things on a scale. He sacrificed the opportunity to be a father at all for the sake of a greater cause, quote unquote, you could argue. It's definitely a gray area. It's not so black and white. It's a debate. It's a gray topic. It's a very gray topic. Gray with an E, by the way. Let's spell, correctly here on this channel. And, so Harald comes in and manages to save Hyrudin at the nick of time, along with his true wife and stuff like that. So he's like, word reached to me about Loki's birth and the recent famine, and now I'm here with all our human allies and stuff, and it's like he showed up to save the day, as it were, with all his human allies that he's collected and stuff like that. And that seems great in theory. It's like, okay, yeah, this is fine, so they got through this, but without good leaders, like, where was Jarl through all this? You know what I mean? Like, okay, if Harald leaves, where was Jarl during all this? Or was he on the voyage with him and stuff? Like, there's no Dorian Bragi, there's no Harald, there's no Jarl, Jarl is dead, so it's just like, okay, if you're going to leave, you really need someone who is very, like, one of you in charge, who can do exactly what he did and be like, no infighting, I am keeping this nation together until our king comes back. So, once again, Harald made a bit of a mistake here, obviously, because I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Jarl was on the ship with him. But then, that's contradictory because of what comes up later about his voyages. Now, you could argue that some of these voyages took place during different times, but then it makes Jarl look bad. So, I mean, tell me what you guys think. Where was Jarl during this big famine? If he wasn't with Harald, which it implies that he wasn't, assuming that Harald went out only once or twice and Jarl only went with him sometimes, assuming that he didn't go along on any of Harald's voyages, which is more implied here than not, what was he doing while the famine was happening, while they were going to pull a Game of Thrones and sacrifice a kid that had nothing to do with anything, for some stupid, once again, brain-dead zealot? This is why I'm not religious. Right here. This is why. The superstitions, the religion, it literally murders babies. Like, I'm not here for this crap. And she was, and then the people start to believe her because she's the queen. It's such toxic authoritarianism. Authoritarianism? Anyways. yeah, I'm not here for it. So he shows back up, and they have this ceremony and stuff. And for some reason, Harold cries over the one who literally was gonna. And it's also, by the way, showcased, not in so many words, but in dialogue bubbles and stuff like that. That Harold never knew of how horrible his wife was, the queen. So she died due to all this, due to the hate. She literally died because she hated the son she gave birth to so much. Literally, I don't want to hear a word about Padme dying in Star Wars of a Broken Heart ever a fucking again when we have this bitch who literally died from I hate my child so much and am so ashamed to have given birth to a baby that did nothing wrong that I died. Okay, this is the ultimate, yeah. Whoa. There ain't enough shotgun shells even in goddamn Texas for this bitch. I'm just saying. Like, goddamn. And Harold has no idea because everyone's too chicken shit to tell him the goddamn truth. And once again, where was Jarl during all this to protect Loki, to help Loki? Where was the old man? You know what I mean? And so Harold here is like they're grieving the wife and stuff, and it was just like, okay, yeah, no, this is ridiculous and stuff. So naturally the people believed in stuff, and Harold was so naive in all this. He was like, oh, Loki, my son, and stuff like that. So the giants who were there, the bitch is dead, and they continue to lie to their king. Oh, well, he was born with a condition that affects his eyes. I mean, he can see and stuff, but we covered them up. And it's like, so the reason he wears the bandages is because Harold was actually convinced by these giants who were obviously on the queen's side and betrayed him because they believed in all the stupid superstition. Once again, religion kills more people and causes more death and destruction and more wars than anything else. Organized religion is the bane of human and now giant existence, and I'm going to stand on that till the day I die, which probably sooner rather than later, the way I'm going. But fact of the matter is that god damn, these guys are still so scared of the superstitions and the queen's word over their own king that they won't just say, so the queen hated his eyes are kind of freaky, so we covered them up. They basically convinced him that he has a condition, so he can't remove the bandages, is what's implied. And he won't even smile for me and stuff like that because, oh, well, I understand, because he just lost his mother, even seeing his father won't make him happy and stuff. The doctors, the giants, the guards, the royals, whatever, let him believe that this is all the case. Fact of the matter is that young Loki had given up on the idea of parental love at this point and was refusing to, he walled himself off from Harold. Understandably, but these giants are at fault. We're feeling a lot for Loki here and stuff like that. And he mentions the scrapes and all this stuff, and so he is never informed of their superstitions, of what the queen did, of what the queen said, and what Loki went through. So Harold is left blissfully ignorant. Now you can make the argument once again that this is on Harold to be a good ruler, but he's supposed to be a father. When you're a parent, being a parent should come first and foremost. Now, once again, we're back to that same gray argument of should Dragon give up on should he be a father to Luffy over being a revolutionary? What do you prioritize? It's all about perspective and priorities. You can make the argument that saving the world is more important than your son or daughter, but look your son or daughter in the eye and convince them of that first. You know what I mean? There's where it's so gray, right? Gray with an E, once again. We spell correctly on this channel. And I like that Oda pulls this stunt. Obviously the queen deserves 1,000 deaths. 10,000. No question. pull some Taken Liam Neeson shit on her ass for 100 years, and I would gladly watch that. I would fall asleep. That would be my ASMR. Fuck whale sounds and the waves and stuff. And to be fair, Matthew McConaughey telling me a bedtime story, I'd fall asleep to that shit all day. That's just A+ material. But my point is, you could put that shit on ASMR, and I would sleep like a baby. Pun not intended there. But fact of the matter is that I love that Oda does this, because this is very. We are having the gray discussions, the gray topics, the gray in that not everything is black and white. Harald is sort of trying to be a good ruler and a revolutionary ruler of Elbaf, while also trying to be, and the only way he can do that is, of course, by going out to sea and making connections and such. And obviously the way Elbaf works with its hyperbolic time chamber bullshit, that we're pretty solid in that something there is funky with time, is happening, is outside of his control. At the same time, he's trying to be a father, but you can only be, if you're 1 foot in and 1 foot out all the time, you're going to have these issues, right? And stuff like that. And of course, who do they give Loki to? The brother of the queen. The worst other giant. If there was another giant on Elbaf that was probably just as much of a piece of shit, it's likely the brother, we find out, absolutely the brother's a piece of shit. So Estrid's older brother was appointed Loki's steward. Instead of saying, here's your stepmom, in Ida, and here's your brother Hyrudin from a very young age. No. Let's be like, he just made all the wrong mistakes because no one would actually talk bad about the queen or speak up or say anything. And honestly, Harald failed on 2 fronts because he was 1 foot in, 1 foot out on both. He was trying to do too much, and as a result, by being a jack of all trades, you become a master of none. And the problem is, the man thought he could still lead. You know what I mean? He tried to be a ruler while being a father, and it just doesn't work. Especially when you don't know, when shit like this is happening back on at home. It was just never going to happen. So Ida's the one who sets up, obviously, the bar that I assume that is run now by. What's her name, where Colin was at, where Shanks was drinking and stuff like that, down in the underworld. It's isolated from the actual underworld, apparently, so it makes sense that that's where the Red Force would have docked, and etc., etc. So she's the one who started it, who's welcome to everyone. That's probably where to bring in fishmen, humans, giants, tontatas, what have you. And it's like, okay, that's really nice. We get a scene 56 years ago with Jarl. Finally, here's Jarl. Now, where was Jarl during all the Queen's crazy religious bullshit, superstitious bullshit? We don't know, but I want to hold his old ass accountable to a degree. They talk about a reverie incident where he went as a bodyguard. Obviously, he could not represent the Giants because the Giants are not welcome. They're not affiliated with the world government. But he went under the disguise of a king that was invited, of a fellow kingdom. We don't know what the kingdom was. But he went as a bodyguard in disguise, but he was just able to get some insight, but he wasn't able to say much. Things went, and this is probably where Shanks, obviously Shanks couldn't have met him 56 years ago and stuff like that, right? So when they talk about the fact that, I met him and stuff like that, but 56 years ago, there's no way Shanks was there. So it's like, wait a minute. So he was at different scenes at the reverie. So Harald went to more than one reverie, clearly. Or, at the very least, he's been in Mary Joa more than once, because at 56 years ago, according to this, he went to the reverie. Shanks mentions that he met up with Harald in the reverie 10 years ago. So it's like, well, wait, or 10 years after Roger's death. Well, that wasn't 56 years ago, so yeah, so Harald's been around. Harald's been around the block, clearly. But apparently a certain person ended up, murdering somebody at the reverie, so they all had to basically get out of Dodge and stuff like that. Now we later find out at the end of the chapter that this was Rox who murdered a Navy admiral at Marijo at the reverie. So it's like, holy shit, how did he manage that? How did he get away? Who the hell is this guy? We don't have the answers to those questions quite yet. But we continue on saying they continue a conversation all about these ancient warrior, the galley law, and it's translated as the galley law, like in Water 7 sort of idea, shipwrights, similar to Tom and Frankie and stuff like that, but of ancient giants mixed with ancient giants and 100 warriors who were like the greatest shipwrights in the known world. They became a frozen army of them is somewhere and stuff. And he's like, so you think the world government's involved? Well, I do, because they are not a myth, they are not a legend. He's like, because this man's like 400, 500 years old. He's like, no. I used to get letters from them and stuff. I believe them. They sank and they were defeated, but there is a frozen army of giants somewhere, sort of idea and stuff like that. And so we're getting a lot of lore dumps. We're getting an insane amount of stuff going down. And then we pass on to, after the 56-year time skip, we get a 48 years before the present day. So we keep going through it. Now, the speed at which this is happening is good, because it means we're not going to spend, chapters upon chapters, months and months here in the in this flashback sequence unnecessarily, right? Which is good. It's a good thing, but it is definitely going through at a breakneck pace. I'm going to give you that much. So we get another double page spread 48 years later that the villagers drew in close and everyone was starting to trade with each other and stuff like that. So Harald ends up continuing to travel the seas and go out and stuff. Now Loki, with his animal friends from the underworld and stuff, ends up completely, as he grows older and stuff like that. Like every time King Harald seems to have already left on a voyage, that Loki ends up rampaging. He ends up rampaging around and stuff like that. Hyrudin tries to stand up to him, of course. It does not work because of Loki's upbringing and stuff, and it makes sense and things like that, you know what I mean? So this is where Loki gets absolutely, like, he hates the fact that he beats up on the weaklings and stuff, and this is just a child acting out. See, this is where Harald messed up as a parent, 100%. He should have been there for Loki multiple times, and he's never there to actually parent Loki and show him a father's love. And this is why Loki turned out the way he did, because then we see that, and we see this scene before, we've seen this very scene before, where Gerd and the other giant that will eventually become the new giant warrior pirates, they end up protecting and defending Hyrudin against Loki. Now, of course, they can get beat up too and stuff like that, but they're just like, stop hurting him, like, what did he do to you, like, you're just such a bully, blah, 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 blah. And Loki hates the fact that they, you can tell, he's like, there's people who care about Hyrudin, even though he's so weak, even though I can beat him up. I'm the real prince. He's not even a real prince. And, but nobody cares about me. Nobody loves me, sort of idea. And then that's where, he just completely, he lashes out against retainers and the other adult giants. He lashes out against Hyrudin. He lashes out against everyone because he cannot, he's feared, he's despised. And then once again, he runs, he basically jumps off back down into the underworld. He jumps off hoping to kill himself, pretty much. He's doing a suicidal jump, and he can't even die, and he literally is laying there. His bandages are ripped off, he's crying, and he's just like, and I can't even die, like, and stuff. And it's just, it's so heart-wrenching. It's like, okay, a little bit Team Loki. Going on the Team Loki bit a little bit here. Not that Hyrudin deserved this. Not that the other giants who tried to help him or whatever deserved this. But Loki is a product of what Elbaf and his parents made him. The Queen is, of course, mostly to blame, but Harald is also to blame for not recognizing, and the retainers, the stewards, all these people that forced, the marriage in the first place and stuff. And once again, why did Harald listen? No fucking idea. But fact of the matter is that Loki is simply a product of his upbringing, so you still can empathize and sympathize with the poor kid. Remember, he's still a kid right now, and all he wants is to be accepted and loved, and he doesn't know how to do it because his mother was such a fucking bitch. You know, so once again, accountability and responsibility still falls on the parents when you raise a fucked up kid. I'm just saying. Or choose not to raise a kid and they end up like this. It's like, what did you think was gonna fucking happen? You know? So anyways, final page of the chapter, double page. Everyone is freaking the fuck out about it. Apparently no break next week. Don't quote me on that. But apparently no break next week. But Rocks shows up 30-something years, like 38, 48 years ago or whatever it is. The discussion, when did it happen? Yeah, 48 years ago apparently he showed up. Showed up 48 years ago, from according to this. But apparently it was 38 years ago. Anyway, doesn't matter. You know, decades ago, Rock shows up. We finally get to see Rock's proper. He's got a badass design. He looks really cool. He looks really evil. He is reported to be the future captain. The future captain of the Rocks Pirates. Father of Emperor Blackbeard. So, once again, Oda is just like, nope. Not playing this game for the long haul and stuff. I'm just going to straight up tell you. Now, some people are upset with this. I've already seen people talking about the inherited will argument. Monkey D. Garp. Monkey D. Dragon. Monkey D. Luffy. If you had a fucking problem with major players in the One Piece world having family who are also major, you've been reading the wrong series, 25 fucking years strong. Shut the fuck up about the inherited will bullshit. Like, yes, inherited will is a great thing and stuff, but lineage has also been a factor. We've seen it now with Shanks, with the Fig Island family. It's always been a thing with Luffy. We assumed it was a thing with Zoro. Usopp with the Yasopp connections. Like, this has always been a bit of a thing. And now we're apparently going to get connections with Brooks' family here in this Elbaf arc with Gunko and stuff. Maybe he has some strong connections or something like that. Who knows? But a portion of our main cast already had family connections to badasses in the One Piece world. And then, of course, we also had, like, the major connections that connected all the other dots. And Ace's, you know, Luffy's adoptive brother was the son of Roger, who happened to then be the adopted son of Whitebeard. Like, I'm just saying. Like, seriously now. Like, this does not remove the inherited will thing. Because the difference is that Luffy inherited the will of Shanks, who inherited the will of Roger. None of them are related. And Ace actually rejected Roger, even though Whitebeard, his adopted father, the one he accepted to be his father, respected the man and thinks that Ace should have respected his father. But he never, you know, said anything and stuff like that. We have these family connections, but inherited will doesn't go away just because your daddy's famous. You know what I mean? Luffy's never met Dragon. He doesn't give a fuck about Dragon. No matter how noble Dragon's cause is, he inherited Shanks' will, and by proxy, Roger's will. It's why Rayleigh wanted to be in. It's why Rayleigh trained him. So this does not eliminate Blackbeard, Zebek being, which has been a theory forever, being Blackbeard's father, does not remove Blackbeard's villainous agency, or the idea of the inherited will. The will of D absolutely has had family, and that's the other thing. The will of D, what are you talking about? Everyone in Luffy's family has the D. Everyone in Roger's family had the D. Porcus D, Ace. Gold D, Roger. Porcus D, Rouge. All three of them. The whole family was a D. The whole monkey family is a D. You know? So, Rocks D, Zebek. Marshall D, Teach. This is not new. So I don't understand why some people are upset by this. This was Oda just getting it out of the way so that now that we've revealed the face, We've revealed the design. It looks awesome. It's painfully obvious. I mean, you could argue that he's Bellamy's dad, for God's sakes, with those eyes. It looks exactly like Bellamy's eyes. But he straight up said, no, this is Rocks. This is Blackbeard's dad. And I'm totally cool with it. We see a very young Whitebeard. I think that's supposed to be Stussy. We see Shiki. And they're all... And Shiki is dressed very much in samurai garb and stuff like that. That's interesting. Now, Rock shows up. This is the future captain of the Rocks Pirates. So right now, the Rocks Pirates have yet to have formed now if this is still 48 years ago. If this is meant to still be 48 years ago, 50 years ago, they had not formed the Rocks Pirates. So this implies that the Rocks Pirates, if they were defeated 38 years ago or 39 years ago at God Valley, they were only a crew for roughly a decade at best. Assuming that they formed the crew like right after this, they were a crew for less than a decade. Makes sense given the timeline, and that's still strong. But he's over here. What's he doing here? He's here to find Harold, apparently. He's here to find Harold and stuff like that. Now, one thing I'm going to bring up. Now, we'll read the page here. But one thing that I absolutely love is that they run into a crying Loki first, who jumped off, and stuff like that. Shiki and Zebek and all of them are just like, there's a giant. Whoa, what's going on here? Whitebeard is the one who, once again, I would argue is probably most likely the first mate of the Rocks Pirates. He is the only one to look up at Loki and say, I know he's a giant, but he's a bit too big too. By the way, kid, why are you crying? Like, there's that fatherly concern that Whitebeard always had in him ever since he was a young man. He's like, well, I know he's big and all, but he's still just a kid. Kid, why are you crying? What's wrong, boy? Sort of idea. Like, he immediately gives a shit. Why is this child crying? I don't care that he's fucking this big. He's still a kid, and I want to know what upset the poor kid. You know what I mean? Good Whitebeard. Whitebeard just being a class act 101, right? So, either way, they are cutting down mountains, by the way, when they're showing up. Who cut down the mountain? We have no idea. Was it Rocks? Was it Shiki? Was it Whitebeard? Someone sliced the mountain as they're walking through towards Loki. And they say, like, well, we found a giant, so this is definitely Elbath. So they didn't realize that they were here. Shiki makes fun of his devil face and stuff like that, because Loki obviously has the eyes and the horns and stuff like that. So he looks like a devil now. And as I said, Whitebeard brings up, like, kid, are you okay? Like, what's going on? And I hope that Whitebeard does have a little bit more interactions with Loki in this regard, because he seems to have a good opinion of Rocks for some reason. Obviously, he's got a very twisted morality of right and wrong already at this point due to the neglect of his, it's straight up just, she's not a mother. She's a horrible thing of a person, but she's not even a person. And Harold's lack of being a good father, so he's already in this mode, so maybe he looks up to Zebek, in a very toxic way. It's possible, but I hope we see some interaction with Whitebeard where Whitebeard treats him with kindness, sort of idea the whole time, and we're already seeing that. So this is where Zebek brings up, like, they both ask you questions and I won't take no for an answer. It's like, why are you crying? It's not a yes or no question, Zebek. So I don't know if you can't say no to a question, like why. You can't say no to a why question, but I mean, you could argue that I'm not going to tell you is a no, but yeah, it just came off weird to me. I was like, Whitebeard didn't ask a yes or no question. But anyways, so he's like, yeah, this is the land of Elbath, yeah? So, we're going to find Harold here, yeah? So, anyways, and I know. It's just the way the page is split up. He's obviously asking these two questions and stuff, but the way I read it at the time, Shiki asked a question, sort of idea, or I assumed that Shiki asked a question and then Whitebeard asked his question, and I read the question part first. It's like, alright, Quid, you better say yes to both of these questions. And I was like, okay, Shiki's question and Whitebeard's question, right? Okay, but they're not yes or no questions. Then I realized, so I just bring that up because when I first read the chapter, that's how I read it, and I was like, is this a translation thing or whatever? And it wasn't until later, and after, you know, it was like, okay, no, he was prefacing, he didn't give a fuck what Shiki or Whitebeard even said. He's like, I have 2 questions for you, and you better answer yes to both of them. 1, this is Elbaf, and 2, you know, we're going to find Harald here, right? So it's like, we want to go find Harald, this is Elbaf, better be yes to both questions. So, yeah, this is the man who shows up. We get the title card. Harald had spotted this man 8 years ago during the Reverie, so 56 years ago. He single-handedly, it's stated, single-handedly, so one-on-one combat. Well, I mean, single-handedly, he could have shot him in the back. It's Zebek. You can always do your loop-de-loops if you want, but we're going to assume that he straight up went for him, 1v1'd a Navy Admiral, and then managed to escape without a trace. And he earned a massive bounty that we don't get. We don't get the massive bounty. And the government's ire. This is Rocks D. Zebek. End of chapter. As I said, no break next week, as far as I can tell. There's a lot here. There's a lot that can be discussed. You know what I mean? There's a lot to be discussed about Loki. So much we can infer or imply now due to now that we have so much more information about Rocks. It's only one double-page panel about him, but it gives so much lore, so much information, right? So, either way, yeah, I think I said everything I wanted to say about it, but what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comment section down below. I'm good with it. I think Rock's design is great. I like the pacing of this chapter. I like that we're getting through Loki's backstory. It's making me feel bad for Loki. It doesn't absolve him once again, but we see why he is the way he is. And if he's explaining all this to Hiruden and Luffy right now, you know, Hiruden is probably going to have the stance of, it doesn't excuse how you acted or what you did. Like, oh, so mommy didn't love you. Get the fuck over it sort of idea. However, you know, we can start a fresh leaf sort of idea. I can see the Honorable Hiruden extending that olive branch. Will Loki take it at this point? He's very bitter, so probably not. But yeah, no, this is incredibly interesting. And all the stuff with knowing now that so far we've only seen these members, and the Rocks pirate crew hasn't actually formed 48 years ago. Whitebeard, Rocks, and Shiki and Stussy just happen to all be traveling together, but they haven't formed an official pirate crew yet. Interesting. Very interesting that as well. So, anyways, what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see all you guys back here next time for the next piece of One Piece, chapter 1155. Looking forward to it. Hope you guys are too. See you next time. Peace out.